SJ. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. Mvskoke Radio, Mambo Hedget, Wedgekis. And joining me in the studio for this segment or for our program today is...
Hey, it's Morgan, guys. Nice to see you guys again, or be here with you guys again.
Yes, remember our newer reporters and putting her through the grinding. I don't even know what I'm looking for, mixing my metaphors. Putting her to the test here. Anyway, we... We've got a kind of a twist in our programming today. We're going to be talking with a psychic, a Creek man who is, what would we say, gifted with this ability of divineness?
Yeah, he says that he taught himself this and he can teach others. He is talented. He does aura readings, spiritual cleansing, a lot of things really, and he says he does this for free sometimes. And he writes books about it, and so we're excited to talk to him today.
Okay, we'll start off with a disclaimer for those who are a little nervous about that sort of thing. Then the opinions being offered here today are those of our programmers here, myself and Morgan, and our guest, and not that of KOKL 1240 The Brood radio station, Mvskoke Radio, or even the Mvskoke Creek Nation. But in the meantime, let's get to the phone here. Good morning, Mr. Davis. Are you with us, sir?
Yes.
Okay, now I have here, you go by Johnny 5 Davis. Any preference there, sir?
Just Johnny 5.
Johnny 5, okay. Well, Morgan and I are here sitting in the studio, pretty much a wide open format and discussion. But how would you describe yourself and your abilities?
Like a label, or
a description. Let's use that term.
I guess psychic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm not too sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess what I do is kind of considered psychic abilities that most people would recognize it as. But I can also, lay my hands on people also, and they can get healed in certain ways. Not like healing like a broken bone or something like that, but I can pull negative energy and negative attachments out from them, or if they're being haunted by negative spirits.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what. Yeah, that would be.
So, do you want to explain some of the services that you offer to people?
Yeah. So some of the services I offer is I do house cleansing. I place barriers. Some people call me an exorcist, but if we're just talking like labels, I can go to homes to remove negative activity, negative spirits. Some companies out here in my local community have asked me to come out and cleanse the area of historical activity, whereas it may have been like Trail of Tears kind of area, or a jailhouse, a prison house, or a courthouse, things of that nature, the historic.
What are some of the...
aura reading.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's it. I do aura readings also, psychic reading. I'd say my most generally asked for service is my psychic readings, and also the house cleansings or the exorcism type of services.
What are some of the, speaking subtly, what are some of the things that you experience when you do some of these services?
So what I experience is, for me, it's just kind of like breathing. It's pretty, normal for me. It's usually the recipient. They're usually the ones that are feeling or mind blown, or they're usually the ones experiencing, I guess you could say, these radical emotions, so to speak. For me, it's just like breathing. It's very normal for me.
Okay, and so let's talk about a couple of your books. What are the names of your books, and where can people find them?
Okay, yeah. So I have 2 books out. They're a part of a series called Revelation 2020. I wrote them this year. My first book is called Psychic Sight. What this book kind of pretty much acts as, it's a fundamental guide to spiritually awakening yourself. So it helps the reader learn to see auras. But in order to see auras, you have to have an understanding of other relevant subjects, which I include in that book also, to help with that process of being able to see and develop the ability to see auras and develop psychic sight.
Do you want to describe what an aura is really quick?
Yeah, so the aura is an energy emitting outward from us. And along our spinal cords, we have energy where we create energy, and it's created through in our spinal cord. And whatever chakra that we're most dominant in, which there's 7 main chakras, which there's more, but here in the West we recognize the 7 main chakras. And they start at the base of the spine and they go up to the head. And they are represented by color. Each color is one of the colors of the rainbow, so there's 7 colors in total. And whichever chakra you are most dominant in is the color that you will that your spine will emit outwards from you. And people who can see auras can see this energy and tell a great deal of information about you, because what color is emitting outwards from you tells specifically where you are most dominant in your current, I guess, life, where you are currently, how you currently feel, and where you currently act. For example, like the green, if you emit green aura, you are very dominant in your heart chakra, so you're very caring, you're very loving. Maybe you heal people, maybe you're in a healing profession, a doctor, a nurse, or such things like that. If you're emitting a blue aura, you're very communicative. That's the throat chakra. So you express yourself very easily. You're very communicative. You probably are in sales. Maybe you are on a radio, a talk show host. Maybe you're an interviewer. Things of that nature. You speak a lot. You're very comfortable there, and that's the dominant trait within you.
Ouch.
I think we found out Gary's.
Okay. Now, I kind of like to see documentaries on TV and about a lot of subjects that would be associated or similar with what we're talking about here today. And some of the images we see would be the outline, the silhouette of a person, like on an X-ray. But then there's this green or blue or red light emanating from around that silhouette. Mm-hmm. So is that what we're talking about when we say, like, chakras? Yes.
Yeah, so, they're called, there's different names for it, depending on which region that you live in. If you live in, if you live here in the West, you probably call it auras. In the East, they call it, prana, chakra. But depending on the region that you live in, there's a different name associated with it, but it means the same thing.
Now, you've used a lot of terms here that sound like they have a Middle Eastern aura, or origin, rather. Is that the case?
Well, you could say that, so to speak. It's not really like the origin, but there in the East is where they talk a lot more about it. It's a lot more well-known there in the East than it is in the West.
So people that see auras can see them from everybody and have been able to see them their whole lives, right?
It kind of. So for me, for example, I saw them all my life, but they were not clear, not until I got older. So I didn't understand really what I was seeing. But as I got older and older, and I started cleansing my body more, myself internally, then the color started to manifest as they actually were, because originally they were just these white hues or yellow hues that would just kind of shine outwards from people, but I didn't really see a color then until I got older. So yeah, you could see them, starting out as a child all the way up to you're an adult, see them. But like I said, for me personally, I couldn't see them distinctly until I did an inner cleansing in my body.
The subjects and related kind of fields and disciplines have always been targets for skepticism. So let me be the skeptical reporter here and toss a couple at you. They're first of all, that's the most basic question. People don't believe in it. Saying, you're making this up, or you're a con man, or perhaps some sort of mental deficiency, and on and on and on. But I'm sure you've heard them. But
right.
How do you respond?
Oh, yeah, I've heard a lot.
Yeah, how do you respond to people, the criticism like that?
Well, I guess it depends, case by case, depending. If it's in person, it's a little bit different. If it's online, it's a little bit different. So since a lot of people contact me online, and I can tell you, well, I ask them, do I have permission to connect with you, with your energy? And I will tell them things about themselves, so there's just no way in the world I could possibly know. And so how do I obtain that information if I don't know anything about you? Now, for the aura part, same thing. If they're in person, I can look on their aura, and I can tell a great deal of information about them. If they've been injured somewhere, there will be an offset of energy flow in a certain area in the body. So I could say, right there behind your shoulder, you've been injured, or you've broken a bone there, or something right there. And they're like, well, how do you know that? Well, I can say, because I can see an offset in the energy flow in your aura in that particular area. And I've never had to have ever met that person, know anything about them. So there's things I can tell people about themselves that there's just no way I could know, not without being able to see this energy, emitting outwards from them.
So at that point, you kind of leave it up in the air a bit, saying that this is what I sense about you, and it's kind of up to you to find out whether it's true or not, or what I said was true.
Yeah, and they're mostly mind-blown. And you know what? My books are all about teaching. So, I mean, for the skeptics, I can teach them the same thing, to kind of do the, to see auras. I've taught people to see auras, and that's why I wrote books, because it was kind of too repetitive to repeat myself to different people over and over again, starting from scratch. So then that's why I wrote these books, so they could get to more people and act as like a guide to help them develop the ability to see auras themselves.
So you've had some reviews on your books, right? Good and bad, or mostly good?
Mostly good. I've had one review on there. It was a lady from India, which she claims to be, more, I guess, scientific. I don't know. She wanted more proof or something about more facts about my book, and it was just a review.
What was the best
A little bit
review
about the review.
that you've had?
So about my books, or just?
In general.
Well, I get so many. It's just hard to. To me, they're all the best. I love all the reviews people leave me. I mean, I get confident every day. I get people that thank me every day, and they say they're doing a great service for the world, and they thank me every day, and I'm just so. It gets me kind of emotional.
So do they?
Read these messages. I get such great messages.
Do they credit you for giving them life-changing experiences?
Yes, they do. And I make them public on my social pages. The reviews that people send me, I post them on social pages so everyone can see, and they can be inspired by these testimonies. And I can do the same thing for them.
Let me ask you to do something for us here for a second. Are you on a cell phone right now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're getting a little bit of interference and signal dropout, so if you're moving around.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, and it just... It's, could you try again?
Yeah, I'm just sitting still.
Okay, great. We're in good shape here, I think. Now, my question about critics and things like that probably edges a little more on cynicism, saying, well, this guy's making it up, or he just got lucky, or things like that. I imagine that's out there. Now, have you ever had to deal with someone who was trying to put you on to tell you a fake story and get you to commit yourself like that?
No, I haven't yet dealt with something like that. To be honest, the people that reach out to me are already kind of spiritually minded, so to speak, because these people that are having issues are usually drawn to me in some way. I usually don't have to go out, and seek out people. They usually seek me out. So I usually don't get any, real negative, feedback or negative people just coming at me just to kind of, I guess, to test me, so to speak. Like I said, usually most of these people are already kind of somewhat, I guess, spiritually minded, and they kind of already have an idea, but they usually are coming to me for help about something if they're dealing with spirits or some guidance in their life to help set them on the right path.
The possibilities here for let's call it crossovers or connections with different religions kind of sticks in my mind, and I'm just wondering if there is something there that you need to comment about. I mean, this sort of thing is it a religion? Is it not? Does it conflict with other religions, say Christianity or Hindu or a Jewish faith? Do you run into that sort of thing?
Yeah, right. So, no, and I don't claim any religion. I will say Christianity was a founding, I guess a founding block for me for spirituality, for spiritual growth. That's where I started in my spiritual walk, was many years ago. I'm 29 now, so back when I was like 18, 19. Christianity was, my foundation for spirituality. Going to church, feeding people, being around like-minded people that were spiritual and stuff like that. That was kind of like my founding area, for spirituality, spiritual growth. Now, things kept happening to me that just people in the church, or or even spiritual people that weren't religious, people didn't understand the things that I was going through, and they couldn't relate to me, and I really couldn't get any help with that in the church or outside of the church, because no one really knew what I was dealing with, because I was attacked by these, spirits and stuff all the time, and and some people would have thought I was maybe making it up or crazy or something like that. But
so that
was a founding block.
You were seeking the church's help for what you were going through?
Yes.
And
people, just spiritual people in general, and in church. Yeah.
So what did you have to do for yourself when you had no help?
I basically had to give up and realize that I was going to have to discover the answers to my questions on my own, because I think it was just a part of my purpose in this particular lifetime, was to discover the answers to my questions, and then also I'm not the only one experiencing these, so that once I do learn, I have a responsibility to go out and help others who are experiencing the exact same thing that I did for years and was tormented, so that they don't have to go through the same years of torment that I went through.
So have you created like a network of people that you can share ideas with, or talk to, some of the people who give the same services to people that you do?
Yeah. So, since I have books, so I go out and, I go out to solicit. I go to bookstores, I go to metaphysical stores, spiritual stores, and, and I solicit my books. And, a lot of people that, own these businesses or work inside the business, they also offer services similar to what I do also. But we all have our own unique little, I guess, talents, you could say, where we individually are better at in certain areas than others. And, we all, stay connected. And, because we're all at the same mentality. We're all trying to help people. We're all trying to make the world a better place by awakening the mass consciousness to things that are unseen. and to help them, spiritually grow themselves and cleanse themselves internally. Basically to help everyone and help the earth.
So on your Facebook, you have a list of services you provide: spiritual cleansing, and counseling, aura readings, oracle readings, house cleaning, protection barrier, nightmare removal from children or adults. And then it says animal readings and crystals. Do you want to kind of talk about the nightmare removal?
Yeah, so for that, like I said, it's real case by case. So parents that will reach out to me and say, hey, my child's having night terrors, can you come out, or what can you do? And I really have to find out from the child what's actually going on, because, parents can actually make things worse for their child. They could take them psychiatric facility and they put them on pills or something to remove that, but it could be something that needs to be addressed, or something that their child needs to encounter so that they can do the work they need to do when they become an adult. Because children can see things that adults can't see, because they're still they're so innocent and so fresh into this world, like their body is already kind of cleansed when they come into this world, so they can actually see things and know of things that adults don't know or can't see. So they can, even some children can recall past lives, and they can tell you about their past lives, and there's no way that they should know that, and that it goes away as they get older, that memory. But children do have access to certain. Oh, go ahead.
What are some of the things that causes that blockage throughout our lives that we can't see these things anymore?
So basically, it's our society. The society that we live in. How it's food, the environment, all this junk that we put into our bodies. And we don't realize that. I mean, we grow up. We watch what our parents eat, and they feed it to us, and then it just continues along their ancestral line of just eating these garbage foods, and also putting it in our body, these heavy metals that come from our everyday hygienic products. So toothpaste, deodorant, tap water, your shower water, these all hold heavy metals that go into your brain and create a blockage, so that pretty much it ends up putting a filter on the brain so that you can't see these things or have access to these abilities. And like I said, it just continues through generational lines, and everyone ends up, having these abilities.
So you teach
being dormant in them.
You teach cleansing, right? And
yes.
This cleansing cleanses you of that filter or blockage we're talking about, right?
Yes.
So how can we do that? Like, can you kind of mildly explain to us how that's done?
Yeah, so in my book, I talk about basically the heavy metals that are in our environment. So fluoride, for example, is a heavy metal. Fluoride is in our toothpaste. Then, if you go to the dentist, they use fluoride-based stuff. I mean, and keep in mind, there's alternatives for everything nowadays. In the year 2020, there's alternatives. There's toothpaste without fluoride in it, but fluoride, it basically creates a crystal around an organ inside your brain. This organ is called the pineal gland, which in the East, they call it the third eye. But, it's an organ called the pineal gland. And what fluoride does is create this crystal around that gland so that it can't be used. And this organ acts as a transmitter and receiver. That's basically, if you were to say we had a sixth sense, the sixth sense would come from that organ in the brain. So you can consume iodine, or basically that nutrient cleanses the brain, also removes heavy metals from the body, which you can find iodine naturally in any vegetable from the sea. You can find it in algae, like spirulina. You can find it in kale, and you can eat these vegetables every day, and that will help start cleansing the brain, and also for the removal of heavy metals inside the body.
Let me jump in and ask you this one, kind of shifting gears a little bit. You come from a native heritage, right?
Yes,
You
Pine Creek.
Yeah. Do you know a town or stomp grounds or anything like that?
Yeah, so my tribal town was wiped out. My tribal town was called Pewarsee,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a tribal town that was wiped out. So there's not too much information about Pewarsee that people know about because it was one of the war towns that was wiped out.
Right, but people do know the name Swarthley. Now, the reason I'm asking is about the native connection there. Now, a lot of Mvskoke people are traditionalists in stomp grounds and medicine and things like that. They use Indian doctors. Of course, a lot of them will attend Christian church and ceremonies and things like that. Now, what connection do you have then with the traditional religions and beliefs and things like that?
So I'm definitely very modern. I'm a millennial. This is the generation that I'm in. We're the millennials. So I'm definitely very different. Now I do utilize traditional ways, so to speak, but I do it in a modern way or traditional way. Like I don't claim to be a shaman or a priest or anything like that because I don't have the credentials. I haven't gone through the training or been trained by an elder to claim such a title for myself. But I will say that my methods are definitely very shamanistic in a way.
Now that term, that term has been kicked around a lot in the last couple of decades by what do we call them, New Agers and people who decide that they were going to be going on their own personal vision quests and charging people for ceremonies to do whatever they're requesting. What do you think of those the word almost slipped out, fakes, or people who pretend to this sort of spiritual background?
Yeah, personally, I think that you really have to have discernment, when you're dealing with people like this, or if you're unknowing whether they're fake or not, or just trying to take advantage of ignorance to use people for financial gain. You really have to have discernment and realize that a person that's actually there to really help you is not going to be charging you a lot of money. I will do my services for free if a person can't afford it. That's how sincere I am. Is that I've had some people that say, $10 is a lot to them. It may not be a lot for someone else, but they're like, hey, I can't afford that. I will do it for free because I will not leave someone in harm's way or having to deal with these spirits or this negativity, these energies that are surrounded by them, plaguing them, preventing them from functioning in their day-to-day lives or getting sleep. I will do the service for free.
I'm glad
that's just how.
I'm glad you mentioned this because that was going to be my next question. Do you charge for these services?
Yeah, I charge, and I have a set scale, but I'm open to bartering. If you want to give an exchange back, I've given readings in exchange for a review. I've given readings in exchange for money. I've bartered with people. If I'm all about giving an exchange of energy. It doesn't have to be material. As long as you are giving an exchange, I do believe that you have to give something back if someone does a service for you. There has to be an exchange of energy.
What is your most popular service?
Probably the psychic readings.
What happens during one of those readings? Do you sit and look at someone and absorb whatever energies? Do you sit and you see this aura? What goes on there?
Yeah, so the psychic readings, most of my clients for this are in different areas of the world. So I don't even talk to them with my voice or on the phone. Usually it's through text, or they message me on my Instagram or my business page. And I have clients in Argentina, I have clients in the UK, London, Germany, Hungary, different areas in different countries, because I can connect you wherever you are. Energy is not bound by matter. It's not limited. Energy is unlimited, so I can connect with people wherever they are in the world. And let me clarify, I'm not actually connecting with them per se. I'm connecting with the beings that are in charge of them, that preside over their life during this incarnation, you could say. So I guess depending on what you want to call them, some people call them angels, some people call them spirit guides. I refer to mine as my counsel. And what happens is a person contacts me for a reading, so I say, okay, give me 10 minutes to meditate and channel, and I'm going to connect with your guides, your angels, your counsel, whatever label you want to attach to it. I connect with them, and I pull messages from them about them that's going to be for their highest good and help them along their journey.
So what
to bridge them towards their soul's purpose.
Sorry. So what information do you need from that person to be able to read?
Well, honestly, I don't need a whole lot of information. I'm not even really sure I need any information. I just need their permission. But I do ask for like their first name and their birth date. But some people are skeptics, so they think I'm trying to like maybe hack them or something, or I don't know, use their name and their date of birth to obtain information about them or something. So some people don't want to give that information, and I tell them you don't have to. If you don't feel comfortable, give me your first name or your date of birth. It doesn't matter. I mean, I just ask just to have a little bit of personal information about them, just so I can say their name when I'm channeling. I can say, hey, so and such, like Amanda, like your guides. I'm asking, can you please connect me with you so that I can pull or retrieve information about this soul you preside over, and give them information from you that they need to hear right now that will benefit them the most right now, presently. But yeah, like I said, if they don't want to give it, they don't have to. I just need to be kind of communicating with them at the time that I am channeling. Okay,
so I had a question about your animal readings. Do you want to kind of elaborate on that? Because I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked about that. So,
Which animal? Which animal?
He has a service where he can read you your animal. Your spirit animal.
I was thinking you were talking about your pet collie or something.
Yeah, so we all have, like I said, we do have a council, we have spirit guides, but we also have animal spirit guides also. So you may notice that you may act like a certain particular animal, or you have characteristics or traits from a particular animal, maybe like a cat. Maybe you're very subtle, very careful.
I see that in people all the time, and I think some people even look like animals.
Exactly. So, for example, I can, same thing like I'm doing with like the psychic reading. I can channel and I can find out who your spirit animals are. Like, for example, I can tell you mine. Mine are an eagle, the owl, the snake, the stag.
Oh, so you can have multiple.
The horse. Yes, you pull from multiple. You'll have multiple traits from different animals, and it'll be present in your personality. Do
you think excuse me there, do you think that might be attached to like some person's clan? Because my mom was a wolf, and so am I, so I've always been drawn to a wolf and, either a pack or a lone wolf, or some sort of traits. But
yeah.
Is that
most definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, it carries. I mean, they follow you. I mean, they're your friends, for eternity. They just don't follow you into one life. They follow you in all your lives. So my clan is, as far as I know, was a bird clan. Bird clan. And like I said, I have the eagle and also the owl are two birds that are my soul, or not my soul, my spirit animals. But the eagle is my main spirit animal of all of my spirit animals. The eagle is my main. Shamans will call. They have one particular animal they call their totem animal, or the power animal. The eagle would be my power animal.
Lumhi.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, that's amazing.
My clan is raccoon, and I think I relate because they stay up all night and eat garbage.
Oh, I heard that in Guardians
they're
of the
adorable, though.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. A guy called them trash pins.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're adorable, though.
yeah. Then incredibly
They're
smart.
very intelligent.
Oh yeah,
They're very intelligent. They use their hands, too.
And sneaky.
And can be
Yeah,
very
they're
wise.
very intelligent.
Very wise, being able to figure things out, and tough too. I understand a lot of them can beat up dogs.
Yep, that's me.
Yeah.
The raccoon.
Okay, I'm sitting here with Woodco here as my co-host this morning. Now, we in the last few minutes we mentioned cleansings and things like that, and I've seen. I'm sure we're all seen TV shows and documentaries and movies where someone will take perhaps a bundle of sage and go through a house, with a needle feather and this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of what you do, or is it something that belongs somewhere else?
Yes, I definitely utilize the Native American sage in my work whenever I go to people's homes and do a cleansing. Like I said, it does depend on. So, in recently, most of my calls that I've figured out is that it's either one of two things. Whenever there's a spirit or a negative attachment to that family, either the spirit is tied to the land, which I live in an area where it's part of the Trail of Tears area. So there are still spirits maybe that died, or also there's jailhouses here that are still spirits that are attached to the land. And people live on this land now, so either there are spirits attached to the land, and there's not a whole lot I can do. I can set a barrier around your home, that'll kind of protect you, but the spirit is still spirits are still attached to the land itself. So there's really nothing you can really do except move.
Right.
And then also the other is maybe a person has played with the Ouija board at some point in their life, whether it was 20, 30 years ago. They played with the Ouija board or practicing black magic and didn't realize it. These are the two, I guess, scenarios I always end up finding myself in when I go to these people's homes that are dealing with spirits. Is either it's attached to the land, or they played with the Ouija board at some point in their life, or they practiced black magic and they weren't realizing it.
All right.
And they brought the spirits into their life.
Well, Johnny, we only have a couple minutes left, so I just wanted to give you an opportunity. You're in Arkansas, right?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm living in Arkansas now, in Conway. I had a job opportunity open up for me out here. My books are they're in Tulsa. You can get them at Spirit Works in Tulsa. You can get them at Peace of Mind in Tulsa. At Sand Springs, you can go out there and get it in Earth and Soul out in Sand Springs. So I have 14 stores total where you can get it in 6 different states. But in Oklahoma, there's 3 stores you can go get it in right now. Sleep Paralysis and also Psychic Sight, my 2 books.
All right, and your Facebook is Johnny5, right?
Yeah, Johnny5 2020.
Okay, Johnny, thank you so much for spending some time with us. It's a fascinating subject. I'm sure we could do another show on it, but we got a couple things here that we need to get to. So we're going to say we appreciate your time here today, and look forward to maybe talking with you again.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's been an honor connecting with you.
Okay, thank you. Johnny 5 Davis. An interesting subject you got there, Morgan. Now, we've got another thing here, an announcement from the Mvskoke Creek Nation Storm Shelter Program. They were supposed to wrap up their application acceptance time on August 31st, but they have extended that deadline until September 30th in hopes that they could give citizens more time to gather the documents and submit their applications. Now, we know that, of course, the COVID and email and all kinds of things have been going crazy, but they've taken that into consideration. Now, we did an interview with staff members there, Amy King, and we would like to share that with you in case you're still interested in that program. We're aware now that there is a program that offers storm shelters to citizens. Kind of a new idea that we've heard of. So, where did that come from, and how? When did it get started? First of all.
Sure. The initial interest for the storm shelter program was brought up by Representative Scott Nyahola. They had approached me to ask me to vet the program and see if it would be feasible for the nation to get a storm shelter program started. I started work on this project back in November and ultimately presented a proposal to Representative Scott Nyahola, which they then submitted for legislation for approval. The original legislation requested an appropriation of $50,000. However, National Council supported doubling of that funding, which increased our programmatic funds to $100,000. That'll allow us to double the amount of people that will be able to serve in the first cycle of installations.
All right. I guess, can you tell me what the rationale was behind this effort?
Sure. Representative Scott and Yahola were concerned about Mvskoke Creek citizens, and especially those in rural areas, having access to safe places to be during severe weather events, including tornadoes, specifically those individuals that are located in more rural areas that may have a harder time accessing a safe place to be.
All right. Now, we've, as a kid, I remember storm shelters being in relatives' backyards or something like that, but it never really sunk in, so to speak. But what is the situation as you look at the population? Are there a significant number of people without these kind of facilities?
Data and demographics, as far as what facilities are available, are currently not something that that I have access to, but based on anecdotal evidence and comments from tribal citizens, it appears that there is a definite need for storm shelter programs and access, especially in rural locations.
All right, now, we here in 2017 are seeing the beginning of our tornado season coming up on us. Let me kind of jump ahead. First of all, I presume word of this program spread fairly quickly, word of mouth, and what sort of interest have you heard or are you aware of at this point?
Sure. We've seen significant interest since the program was passed through legislation, and then also there was a post on social media circulated by the Office of Public Relations indicating that the program was going to be coming up very shortly. We are going to be going through a competitive bidding process, so we're not ready to be accepting applications quite at this point yet. However, we've had a lot of interest of people asking for applications, how they can get on a list, how they can find out more information, and we're super excited to see all the interest that's been generated so far.
Well, I'm going to assume that the program would have a financial cap at some point. You can only help so many people. So what kinds of things are you looking for as you get into your vetting process?
Sure. So just to kind of give a quick example of how the program will work, the program's available to any Mvskoke Creek citizen that's residing within the tribal jurisdictional boundaries. While anybody can apply, we do have a point ranking preference system. Homeowners are going to be targeted as they're the only ones that are going to be able to receive services through this program. Through the application, people who fit certain categories will receive a point preference. Those include elders of the age 65 and older, people who live in rural areas, veterans, and people with an ambulatory disability would also qualify for an above-ground shelter if their home has sufficient space for that to be installed.
Now, you mentioned above ground. I presume these are the safe room kind of shelters?
That would be correct. We wanted to provide an above-ground option in case people had difficulty going down the stairs for an in-ground shelter, or if they needed to use a wheelchair or some other kind of ambulatory device. The above-ground safe room would be wide enough to accommodate a wheelchair and also be more easy to access for people with ambulatory disabilities.
The effort there is wonderful. Are you limiting the size of the safe room that you can provide? I mean, I know there are different sizes, but what are you aiming at?
Yes, we would be actually limiting the available shelter options to two, one in-ground size and one above-ground size. I if I'm recalling correctly, the in-ground size is about 6 by 8, and the above-ground size is something a little bit similar to that. So by limiting the number of sizes of shelters that we're offering, we can be much more economical about how many people we're able to serve.
Now, you mentioned now, I guess I'm hearing that you're talking about the more familiar old-style shelter that's concrete structure that's placed in the ground, hole in the ground, and then secured that way. That's one we're really familiar with now. So that is included in the plan, and how do you make those decisions again?
Yes, the in-ground is included in the plan. The primary unit to be installed will be the in-ground, and then only people who qualify for an above-ground would be eligible for that, which would be the ambulatory disability. Mm-hmm. And with an ambulatory disability, in order to certify that, it would be as simple as a doctor's note or evidence of a handicap placard assigned to the person who would be applying.
Now, when would your program be activated to the point where you're actually constructing?
Sure. Right now we're going through the competitive bidding process. I will anticipate that to take about 2 to 3 months. Once we get towards the end of that and get a contract in place with contractors to do the installations, we'll begin starting to circulate applications. I anticipate applications to be open for approximately a 6-week period. We'll close applications, sort those through, and identify individuals who are eligible and rank those by the point preferences. And once we have that ranking, we will begin contacting the installers to get a hold of the individuals selected to begin investigation of their property to ensure that there is an adequate location to do an installation.
It sounds then like timing is an important factor. Here we are at the end of March with the tornado season just really cranking up. In 2 to 3 months, it'll, for the most part, the worst part will be over. So was that sort of thing taken into consideration when the timeline was being considered?
We did consider that. We felt that it was very important to make sure that we had the program in a place where it was foundationally strong and structured to be able to continue. While that does put us on the backside of storm season, it'll actually be more efficient for us to do installs during the off season because the storm shelter contractors that we would be working with will have a lot more time and availability to focus on the programs for the nation.
They'll be under a lot less pressure, too.
That's correct.
As you get your program rolling, how many homeowners do you anticipate in being able to help?
Depending upon who would qualify for an above-ground shelter, those do run a little bit more than the in-ground shelters. We anticipate being able to provide between 20 and 40 homeowners and individuals at this time.
And I imagine you've got at least that many inquiries already?
Oh, absolutely. The social media post on Facebook generated multiple comments and likes. We've had lots of phone calls and drop-ins about people asking about the program, how they can access it, and what the timeline looks like for that. So we're super happy to be circulating this information and let everybody know about this program, and we will definitely be circulating a lot more information when the applications come out.
All right, you mentioned a priority for rural locations, which kind of makes sense. Does that means you're going to probably disappoint a lot of citizens who live in a more urban setting, such as like Sapulpa or Glenpool, something?
Right. Our rationale for that was that individuals who are living in a more urban or metro area would have better access to public facilities or neighbors' resources that have that, since they wouldn't have to travel quite as far. When you're living in a rural area, such as rural Hughes County or McIntosh County, it maybe becomes significantly more difficult to access a safe place. So we wanted to make sure that we were going to be doing the most good for the most people, and targeting rural populations was something that we considered as a part of that.
Where would the funding for this program come from again?
Funding came from an appropriation from the National Council. We're very pleased that they considered doubling the amount in the first year.
And so we can say this is all Mvskoke project?
Absolutely. This is a 100% Mvskoke Creek Nation project.
What kind of money are we talking about for the program in general and in per individual?
The program in general was appropriated $100,000. 100% of that will be allocated towards storm shelter acquisition and installations. From a per unit standpoint, the very rough numbers indicate around $2,500 to $3,000 for an in-ground installation and $4,500 to $5,500 for an above-ground installation.
If a citizen wanted to, let's call it supplement the amount that you're qualifying them for, to perhaps make some changes, expand it, or something like that, would those kind of deals be available?
At this point, that's not something we're considering as a part of the program. In order to remain efficient and streamlined, we'd like to really limit the options that we're offering at this time. That way we can be very streamlined as far as making the selections and doing the installations and getting our vendors paid.
So if someone was qualified for a shelter, say for 2 to 3 people, they would not be able to cut a deal with a contractor or something like that to get a bigger one?
They'd have the opportunity to work individually with a contractor. However, funds for that would be borne by the individual in that case.
Right, so if they wanted something bigger, then they would have to pay for it.
That's correct.
All right, now, once again, what is the timeline when you think that you'll see the first construction beginning?
I believe construction should be beginning late summer or early fall. I think that's a sufficient amount of time for us to go through the competitive bidding process. What that looks like is we'll be requesting qualifications of contractors who would be interested in participating. We'll go through and look at those qualifications and make sure that contractors meet the minimum standards that we're looking for, including FEMA certifications. Of those contractors, we will select and send an invitation to them to submit a proposal in accordance with the program that we're interested in. So that way we'll be making sure that we have a very qualified contractor to do the installation, and we'll be providing the most economical services available.
Now, you mentioned FEMA there, and I know that they have standards and qualifications for such structures like this. What kinds of things are they requiring?
So the FEMA qualifications review the structural soundness and ability to withstand weather of the storm shelters. So any sort of contractor that we make an agreement with will be required to provide FEMA certified storm shelter units.
So no fly-by-night unit companies need apply then?
Right. We want to make sure that we're providing quality services for our citizens.
All right. Now, I'm sure that it is met with very welcome, made very welcome, the idea, the program being started. Have there been any comments or anything that you've heard from prospective qualified applicants?
Other than a general interest, there's been some discussion about prioritization and what the point preferences look like. There are some people that had some questions about, providing services outside of our tribal jurisdictional boundaries, or if there should be a blood quantum preference. My response to that would be encourage them to have a conversation with their council representative to voice any concerns. The policies and procedures that came along and were drafted as a part of this program were approved by National Council, so those are set. Any sort of adaptation, that would be a good idea to talk to your National Council representative about.
So these people raise some really hotbed kind of questions there.
Yeah, they're definitely very interesting questions that are definitely absolutely worthy of discussion. I want to make sure that we have go through the appropriate chain of command as far as any suggested policy changes are concerned.
Okay, that does it for all the questions that I had. At this point, is there something you might want to add or go back and perhaps re-emphasize?
Sure. In anticipation of getting ready for an application, it would be a good idea to assemble any sort of documentation to show proof of home ownership. If you have an ambulatory disability or would qualify as a veteran, providing documentation to support those connotations, as well as an address to establish whether you're in a rural, suburban, or urban area.
So there is a requirement for a lot of proof then for this application.
Right. We want to make sure that we are ranking appropriately and that people are eligible for the points that they're claiming.
Okay, unless there's something else, that should do it.
I think that's it. We really look forward to getting this program off the ground, and I think it'll be a good opportunity for the nation.
Right, marvelous. Thank you so much, Carly. We appreciate your time here. Okay, the applications are still being received till the end of this month. So if you're interested, you might want to get it in, because I understand they get quite a response. A couple of quick items here we'll share before we wrap up the show here. We are offering you some quick tips on completing online coronavirus assistance application. So if you're looking for help with the coronavirus assistance monies, have copies of supporting documents such as your citizenship card ready to upload in one of these formats, DOC, DOCX, PDF, and TIFF. Have copies of your recent pay stub on hand to complete the income section. If you receive SNAP, TANF, commodities, or any other assistance from a federally funded program, have documents on hand. To report zero income, have verification from Employment Security, the Employment Security Commission, unemployment on hand. So if you're not able to upload those documents in the required formats, submit them. Continue to submit application online at COVID support at mcn-nsn.gov. Applications may be printed and completed manually and mailed, for those without computers, Mvskoke Creek Nation Social Services, P.O. Box 580 here in Okmulgee, 74447. And you can request those by contacting 918-549-2440.
All right, and it looks like this coming up week is Suicide Prevention Week. We have some activities going on. Virtual suicide prevention training, September 8th from 6 to 7. September 9th is Facts Day. You can follow the MCN FB page to get those suicide prevention facts. September 10th is World Suicide Prevention Day. They want everybody to wear yellow. And on September 11th says Chalk Out the Stigma. That'll be at the MCN Mound from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And you can contact Behavioral Health at 758-1930 if you have any more questions about Suicide Prevention Week.
Okay, thank you, Morgan. Now, let me throw a couple things at you personally.
Okay.
Now, you've been a reporter here with the Mvskoke Media for how long now?
About 6 months now.
Yeah, starting to feel like a veteran.
Getting there.
Okay. Well, I'm always curious about people entering this profession. So what was it that drew you to journalism?
So I was kind of in a spot where I was like in a transition phase, and I really didn't know where I wanted to do. I wanted to work for my tribe. And was interested in doing that in any capacity, but I'm such a people's person and such a talker. I was just, when I saw this opening, I was like, I think I'm just gonna go for it. I think this would be a good fit for me, and hopefully everybody there is like me or can work with me as a team, and I think we all do pretty good together.
Well, I can say that no one's like you. We do, however, like you, and I think we actually usually end up with a pretty good team at Mvskoke Media, people who are dedicated to what they're working on and believe strongly in serving the Mvskoke Creek Nation citizenship. So I'm glad you're with us, Morgan. I think you did a good job here
today. I like
today.
being in the business.
Okay, how about radio?
Oh, yeah, this is fun. This is a lot of fun.
Okay, well, wait till it isn't. All right, well, we want to say thank you to y'all for listening to us today. We appreciate you joining us here. Mado Mabo Hedjitskat, Gary Fife, Joho Jifkados.
All right, guys. See you later.
All right, have a good one. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mado.